an analog desk.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, of course they are, but also precision is a factor. The smaller the knob or fader, the harder it is to be precise. The bigger ones, of course, let you dial in really precise settings. So that's also a consideration. But yeah, ergonomics for all of that is going to be a factor. But also in the opposite direction, potentially the more room you have to travel if you're dealing with lots of channels.
Go ahead, Courtney.
I was trying to look up to see. There were some mixers for a while that, in order to maintain a small footprint, actually moved some of the equalization controls right alongside the linear mixer level for each channel. That was quite problematic because you found yourself, if you're having to ride gain, you'd brush against the knob and change the EQ. So it's a big consideration. You don't want to have any knobs or buttons or switches alongside the a linear fader because if you're mixing in real time, that could be quite problematic.
Next question.
Douglas Carmichael. Allen and Heath recently introduced the Avantis Solo, which is a single-screen version of the Avantis for US $8,000. Could you see it finding a place in the non-music events market?
You go, Jeff.
Probably not, for the reasons we talked about earlier for Yamaha's domination in that. It's going to be hard to break into that.
At $8,000, there are people who really love Allen Heath, and then they and that's what they buy, and so there's enough business for Allen and Heath for that to occur. But what we see in the most general, once you get into that, once you go north of $6,000 and south of $25,000, we just see a lot of Yamahas like that. That's kind of their real sweet spot there. Next question.
Ronnie Hofsway in Tromsø, Norway. Any mixers out there that also do LUFS metering?
I don't know if there's any mixers that I've seen that do LUFS. I think it takes a little bit more of a calculation there, and we always have outboard something measuring that, and it's not something that we've done in the mixer. So yeah, I don't have that. Yeah. Next question.
Rion Smith in Trinidad, West Indies. Hey, Alex, is the open com bone conduction headset good enough to monitor audio from your mixer?
Absolutely not. It's the quality is not there to ask. And in general, I'm looking for really good headsets when I'm trying to listen to what I'm doing with the monitors, and I want to isolate it as much as I possibly can. But the open comms, it's not even really that good to listen to music on. So it's not. It's a very limited. It's really good for talking on the phone, and talking in comms. It's exceptional at that, and it does it better than anything else. But it doesn't do the other stuff very well. Next question.
Douglas Carmichael, when might a USB to Dante device like the Yamaha RU IO16D be useful in lieu of DVS?
Go ahead, Jeff.
I would also throw another box in here, which is the RME, the Digiface Dante. This is where you need to go if you want to go. Dante Virtual Sound Card is limited to 64 channels in, 64 channels out. So if you need to go beyond that, you need to go to some kind of hardware device that does Dante. Latency and reliability will be the other ones. You get lower latency than using Dante Virtual Sound Card.
Yeah, and Dante Virtual Sound Card can hiccup. So it is definitely not 100%. It's 99%, but we've definitely had issues with Dante Virtual Sound Card, enough that if it really matters, we definitely have some of these USB to Dante, the Audinate USB to Dante 2 channels that we just pump out, that I'd rather use in a lot of these environments. So it's not necessarily a Rio, but it's been a USB to Dante device. The nice thing also about it is you're carrying something around that you plug into any computer and it just shows up as a USB device, and then it's Dante. They're useful that way. Next question.
Jeff Cohen, Miami Beach, Florida, has a last one this morning. Do you use the virtual scribble strip boxes on controllers that have them?
100%. like that. I mean, the existence of the scribble strips are one of the reasons that you pick a mixer. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, we installed a digital mixer early on in our studio at school, and it was we weren't able to afford the mixers at that time that had a digital scribble strip, and so it appears in the display, not right above each channel. And boy, that's annoying.
Super. And I believe that that's one of the other distinctions, if I remember correctly, between the Midas 32 and the X30 or the X32 is I believe that there's scribble strips across the one of them and not the other, or in some of those cases. I can't, if I remember correctly, those are missing. I don't remember now, but go ahead, Courtney.
And they're great for fixed installations where you have different people coming in to do different shows, and you can just load your profiles in for your particular show, and your scribble strips have it all set up the way you like it for each individual mixer. So if you have a fixed installation and different mixers coming in to do different shows in the same hardware, it's very handy.
Absolutely. Great conversation. That was good. That was good. That was a good dig into a lot of things thinking about when you're thinking about mixers. Hopefully that helped. Again, a reminder that next week we will be doing all Q&A, and that might last a couple weeks. So we may do some labs, may talk about some stuff in detail to make that happen. So we'll think about some of those things, but it'll be a little bit more casual as we work through the transition of what we're working on right now. So stay tuned for that. But think about those questions. This will be a good time. You'll see us chew on questions a little bit longer than we normally do. And we're just going to play with that format, and play with we're going to use the opportunity of this change to kind of think about that format that we have here. So we'll have Q&A, but we might be a little slower. We might have a little bit more lab time in the second hour. Probably won't do it in the first hour. But we'll kind of play with this a little bit more. I think I was resistant to that at first. The team wanted to do that immediately, so they were right. So I was resistant, but the more I thought about it, the more I saw the wisdom in it. So we'll relax a little bit in that process and see what we like, and we'll probably take some of that with us. But think about the questions that you want or things that you like to cover. Put in the second hour things that you'd like us to cover that isn't necessarily a formal discussion like we oftentimes have for the second hour, but just things we can kind of chew on a little bit in the second hour. So just think about those things. There may not be a huge shift in what we're doing. John Wallace actually has almost a perfect mirror. I'm sending one piece of equipment out today to make it to get it closer to the perfect mirror of our system. And so there may be only a couple days where we're just pure Zoom, where we do that transition, and then John's right now today is kind of mirroring some of those things, and Tlalok's working with him, and the team's working with him to make sure he has everything else that he needs. And so this may not take very long for us to be back to the regularly scheduled program while we find a new home for our little rack. So stay tuned for that. Thanks to the panel, of course, for a great conversation, both in the first and second hour. It was fantastic. And thank you to the producers for all the great questions. Kept us rolling through the first hour and second hour. I think we had a lot of great stuff coming in from the QR code, great stuff coming in ahead of time before the show. That really makes it a lot easier for us to look at and think about and sound smarter than we normally are. So ask those questions before the show. It's really, really great. Or put them into the QR code. It's really, really fantastic when the producers get that in. And thank you to the incredible team that makes this happen every single day. The fact that we were able to transition potentially to another whole set of piece of hardware in a couple of days, I was kind of amazed. I'm just like this. We've grown into something that's really interesting. So incredible work on the back end team for not only just doing it, but understanding it and documenting it and putting all those pieces together so that we can have that resiliency. That's why we do it it's why we can do it every single day. It's really amazing work. We traveled 167,000 miles, 270,000 kilometers, and that is 1.329 billion bananas for scale. All right, let's go ahead and jump into after hours.
So now the big question:
we're not even whispering anymore. We've given up the whisper. You just
then what equipment did you have to send them?
Here's the funny thing. They're like, do you have a hyperdeck? And I was like, I think I have. Of course, I just went spelunking in my garage and found a hyperdeck. I was like, oh, I knew there was